Good morning, Al.
Morning, Craig. I'm up here in Beacon, New York, visiting our grandkids for Passover, and I was delighted to learn that our reality TV president today, uh, or last night, indicated to his staff that he's willing to leave Iran without reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Uh, and it reminds me of how incredible it is that that our president really does think wars, the world, the presidency is all a reality TV program that he can control. But the reality is that in war, and in most things in real life, the other side has a vote. And I sort of quickly jotted down a couple of things. If this is really true, and we don't know because he just one day he's going to bomb the bejesus out of Iran. The next day he's got a deal going. But his pattern has been to chicken out. Taco. Trump always chickens out. And if he does, and the other thing he's been saying is, we've got new leaders. Of course, the leaders are more radical parts of the same regime. But so here, if we were to leave now, without reopening the straits, you'd have the same regime in power. You've had the straits close and no prospect for it to really be reopened. So 20% of the world's oil shipments have been disrupted, probably more than that. Thousands of casualties, billions of dollars in weapons used, in uh, perhaps being in short supply. Higher gas prices here, they hit $4 a gallon. And inflation likely to move through the economy because oil prices affect everything. And then we've left NATO in shambles. The Russians and the Iranians have had their sanctions eased to try to get more oil out. It's been a windfall for Russia. They're making $760 million a day, $24 billion a month more on oil revenues to finance the war. They were going broke. And the Iranians have seen their revenues go up too, because nobody else in the Middle East and the Gulf area, all those countries have had to cut their production because their facilities are damaged and they can't get the oil through the Strait of Hormuz. And what I want to see is how our reality TV president claims that's a victory for the United States.
You know, as you were going through that list, I was thinking, this would be a great political novel about somebody who was trying to sabotage the government of the United States. Except in this case, it's being led by the government of the
Right,
United States.
right.
The other side of the other part of that story, and you alluded to it, but he's not only talking about leaving without resolving the Straits of Hormuz, he's saying, well, it's kind of up to the people in the region to take care of it. So, in other words, he engages in an activity for with all the consequences you described, and then he says, "Up, we're out of here. We'll see you later." And is leaving us, and you said this, but he's leaving us now with gasoline prices averaging over $4 a gallon, when just months ago he was claiming it was under $2 a gallon, and that was a great triumph. I mean, it's just mindless. There was a piece in that Richard Haas did, which I also thought was interesting because he's not been hypercritical at all of Secretary of State Marco Rubio. I mean, but he did say that he found it kind of confounding that Secretary of State Rubio would say, we've got to finish the job, because he said, what's the job? They've never really declared what the job is, and how what's it going to look like when it's, quote, finished. So it seems like there is just a strategy a day, and they go out and throw something against the wall and see what sticks.
You know, the sort of the image I have of Trump. Trump tries to manage this war, and he wants to be the narrator of the war on his TV show. And so we get these wild statements. But my image is him going into a little study, off the Oval Office, and his aides bringing in an iPad every morning and letting him watch the bombs go off, and he gets a big thrill out of that. Uh, I mean, it's just when you think of how the world order that had brought so much peace and prosperity to the United States and really the whole Western world has been completely disrupted. I mean, I, Marco Rubio, who has been a champion of NATO, was on television this morning saying, and basically mouthing Trump's critiques of NATO. I mean, we closed the Strait of Hormuz, where it's so important for oil for Europe and NATO countries, and say, okay, go ahead and reopen it. You're right. I mean, we flatten we sort of flatten the city and then say, okay, it's up to you guys now to rebuild it, and we're going to go out and do something else crazy.
Yeah. You mentioned watching the video. For 4 years, I lived with the president's daily briefing, at least 6 days a week, if not seven, from offered by the CIA with a briefer, and I've known the people that are responsible for putting those together, and they work very hard to figure out how best to reach the sitting president. And different people have different approaches. Some like to read. George Bush loved to read through it, and he loved to have a dialogue and discussion back and forth. Other people took it and got briefed on it, didn't care that much about the dialogue. But by all reports, it is this video that Trump enjoys. But the problem with that is he loses the ability to learn from people who have spent years and decades, some cases, studying the area, knowing who the leaders are, knowing who the second, third, fourth tier leaders are in Iran, gaming out the consequences of certain actions. And it seems he acts on impulse. And I think more than anything, we'll get through this, I guess. We probably pay a high price with gasoline and with our relationships with allies. But, we have well over 2.5 more years of this. And it's the process that worries me. It's the way he goes about getting to a decision point. And you listen to the people who have come out of Republican and Democratic administrations and from the intelligence community, the Defense Department. They're very measured. They're not really political, but they are almost incredulous with what they're seeing because they know better. And I wonder whether people around the president have lost the ability to give him any advice that he'll take, or if he, as you say, goes in that room and he watches the films on the iPad, and then he turns around and sends out tweets to people
Yeah.
that off
You
the
know,
top of his head.
I guess I think that, and I've been thinking about this for really the last 2 or 3 months as the wheels have come off this administration's bus. Uh, he really doesn't have anybody who can give him any good advice. I mean, to the degree, maybe Marco Rubio, but to survive in that administration, you really can't. Uh, you want Pete Hegseth giving advice on how to run a war? I mean, he's a complete friggin' idiot. And uh, Stephen Miller advising him. Uh, Basically, he doesn't have any advisors who can give him good advice. He wouldn't listen to him if he did. He had some in the first administration, and they restrained him to some degree. And you listen to a cabinet meeting, and they have all these cronies, sycophants, sucking up to him in a cabinet meeting. And what I've been thinking about is with some of the things he's done, I mean, what really struck me was what he said about the Supreme Court after the tariff decision, and then, things like he says about the death of Robert Mueller. An ordinary president or cabinet would be looking at that 25th Amendment, but his cabinet's an insurance policy because they're just a bunch of lackeys who are just trying to, take what they can from this administration, and it's been billions, and let him do whatever he wants. It's just a frightening circumstance.
Yeah, it is. It's not the way it's worked. Well, I guess we'll have more to talk about on Thursday, and we'll have to answer that question: where in the world is Dave Whelan?
Yeah, right. Yeah, where is he? Yeah, he, I guess is he
He
sailing
was in
the
the middle of
Atlantic?
the Atlantic. He was in the
Right,
middle of the Atlantic. I know that, on a big ship.
yeah, right.
I'm not sure
But
where he's being deployed, but the spy master could show up anywhere. You never know.
right, yeah.
All
Well, all
right. Well,
right.
have a good week. We'll talk to you
Yeah,
soon.
see. All right.
Take
Take
care.
care.